Okay, it's Roger once again talking about health and all the different issues that face us today with the health system. Now, what really is wrong? Why is everybody sick? They're not getting to the root cause of the problems, is my claim. I claim that the root cause is invasion of the tissues by membranes, and I have documentation now from the world's leading fascia specialists that that is confirmed now. So, my issue is that if that is true, and I can see factually it is true, and I'm going to show you factually it's true in this video, if that is true, here we have people screaming about vaccines. Well, vaccines hurt some people, absolutely. Some people, they're fine. But I think the first thing they have to know is the kid able to fight off this vaccine and the antagonist that they put in with it to make it invade your immune system. If you're not capable of handling it, you are going to get sick, and you may get autism, and you may get some kind of Crohn's disease or who knows what, because you're getting invaded. And if your immune system and your blockades are not there, you're in trouble. Now, I'm going to go into this. But my point being is glyphosate, they're upset that that is causing all kinds of cancer, so they're giving them enzymes to fix it. Well, it might fix the symptom, but the cause is the bacteria, because the kids still have diarrhea and all kinds of problems. They all have it. And if you don't have a good digestive system, you are going to have something wrong because if it's good, you don't have a problem. If it's not good, you have some reason it's wrong. It's not just saying, oh, I don't want to be happy today. It's saying, I got a problem here. Some of my bacteria is bad. I'm getting invaded by candida. I got some other bacteria or virus attacking me. I don't have the transition metals. I'm getting glyphosate here with all these, glyphosate is something that they put in Roundup that destroys the ability for plants to absorb metals. And they create a product called lignin, which is the structural component in cellulose type plants. And it's exactly identical to our mucous membranes. It's identical. And when they put this Roundup in the dirt and in the plants, it destroys the ability for that plant to take those metals in and to use them to create the membranes that protect the plant so the plant dies. Well, we end up eating these things that are grown in these same chemicals, and this woman, Stephanie, I forget what her last name is, but she's from Harvard. She's done, and she's got one of, I guess Monsanto's in big trouble for this particular chemical because it is very bad. But now they found out there's another chemical you can take. It's chlorine based. It's a superoxidant or something along that line. But it can destroy that glyphosate. But they still don't get to the problem, which is the membranes and the mucous membranes and the bacteria that are absolutely required for your health. They can give you enzymes that will override what your body is supposed to be producing, and maybe you'll have the right amount, maybe not the right amount, maybe it's the right kind, maybe it's not the right kind. We don't know because there's no database. I mean, it's a mess. It really is. But you got to get your digestive system is your processing plant. You got that bad, I don't care what you do after that. You can do exercises, go to 1,000 doctors a day. It ain't going to help you. You got to fix that part of your digestive system, or I don't care, they're going to end up giving you so many drugs to counteract this and that. Oh, I got to counteract that. And oh boy, now we got this invading. Oh boy, we're going to do this, and that's what happens. It's you like in a rat race. Once you start down that road, you get your stomach fixed, and you just jump off that little round mill that rolls round and round and round at the doctor's offices, and you'll be able to go home and eat well and be happy, and you have energy and all that stuff if you get your digestive system under control. I know I'm running out of the mouth about this push, but I'm telling you right now, do not think this is silly, because it is not silly. All right, before I start this, I just want to make a statement. I never make complaints without having solutions. And I have solutions to these things. They just will not pay attention to the solutions. They'd rather just stand around and scream. These people are upset about vaccines. And some kids are getting sick from the vaccines. There's no question whatsoever. Now, my thing is, why are they getting sick? Why is one kid not getting sick and the other kid's getting sick? All right? Why is that? There is a reason for that. It's not just that one kid's susceptible, he's got some genetic defect. No. His immune system is already compromised. And then they hit him with this. It's like throwing an attack dog inside your body, and you have no way to protect yourself. You have no fences, no gates, no way to keep him out. He just attacks the hell out of you. And then before long, you get all kinds of issues, but it's related to your membranes, and your membranes are your protective things that keep the invasion from being so serious that it attacks where it shouldn't attack. And these membranes are under stress. And the reason they're under stress is because the bacteria in most people's bodies is not sufficient to create the mucus that keeps these things away. And when you have the right bacteria, it generates mucus almost instantaneously. So the response to being cured is very, very quick if you get the right stuff in you. I mean, it's almost like instantaneous. These bacteria can squirt out mucus, and you know that. You can get it in your head. People know mucus can just flow, and that is what it's designed to do. It's an invasion stopper, and this is where I have an issue with our legislators. They will not let us talk. They just say, here's what you're going to get, and too bad. Well, let's talk about what we can do to mitigate. I don't see anything wrong whatsoever with vaccines. My honest truth, I've had them, my kids had them, we're all healthy. However, we didn't have immune system compromise. Our membranes and our bodies were healthy, so we could take this. But if you already have digestive system problems and you have perforations in your membranes that your body is already fighting like hell, and then all of a sudden you say, whoa, how about some of this stuff? And you squirt that in there, you're done. You're going to have some other issue it's going to overwhelm your system. So enough of that, but let's go into what I have to say about this. And I think I have some interesting stuff to say. And I need it to be said. I need it to be heard. And here's the issue. Listen to this.
This room, and we'll continue.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here to speak at this press conference and to begin the dialogue about vaccines. One of my concerns, having served on the Public Health Committee, is the fact that we're seeing bill proposals outside of the public hearing process. And unfortunately, the only...
You heard what he said. Bill proposals outside the public hearing process. Nobody gets to speak. Nobody gets to be heard. Nobody gets to have input except what they take from the lobbyists, from the cash payers, from the ones that will put money in their hands to do their bidding.
The only way we're left to respond is to create our own forums and have our own conversation. So this morning there was a forum scheduled where we would have had both sides of the issue present their information. And unfortunately, the other side of the issue arrogantly did not show up to present their position.
This is the problem. We are left to fend for ourselves. Our leaders have abandoned us. And if you think any different, I'd like to hear why you think that's different. All right, so now I've made my statements about the mucous membranes, the protective barriers, and I have gotten, well, as a matter of fact, let me show you that so I can add a little validity to this. All right, I've been going back and forth with Gil Headley here for the last number of years about the fascia, because I discovered fascia was the protector of mud fossils, which are these ancient giant human beings that are DNA certified and all this. That's how I got hooked up with Gil. He verified everything I was saying. So that's another issue, but that's another thing's being just ignored. But anyway. But going on with Gil here, we go on. He says this is called the what's the fuzz? That's what they used to call these membranes. They really didn't even understand them. To be honest with you, they just thought they were gooey things that were in the body. Well, they're slimy, gooey, fuzzy layers that keep your body separated. So it says, in which I go into much more detail. In other words, he's been doing videos on this in the autopsy world so that people start to understand this, and the videos are just fabulous. And you can go to his www.gilheadley.com and you can watch all these autopsies. I mean, they're gruesome, but they're fascinating. Now, so he says he's going to do this what's the fuzz video and so forth, and then interstitium was something that they just recently discovered. We've been talking about that for 5 years. Last year they put it out, a brand new organ we just discovered. Bill and I have been discussing that for 5 years. Anyway, so he goes on about that, the interstitium. And then he says, for your intuition about the cancer and the membranes, you're exactly correct. Please investigate the work of Peter Friedl, who is in Germany, where they originally started work on the fascia, but it was for pain. I wanted to know about the fascia for the protective value that it had to keep these mud fossils all separated. So that's how I realized it was such a protective barrier. And anyway, they actually can watch. Listen to this. He's using amazing filming techniques, captured video of cancer cells actually migrating through these membrane tissues in real time. Truly phenomenal. So, and he was over there in Berlin, Germany, at this Fascia Congress. See, International Fascia Congress. He's a world leader in understanding the structural integrity of this stuff. Some other people say, oh, it does this to you and it does that. Well, that's fine. But how does it do it? What are the structures made out of? What are the fibers made out of? How do they separate? How do they glue together? How do they become degenerative? How do you rebuild them? How does the mucus become repopulated? How do these villi get destroyed? What are the colonies that exist in these things? This is what I want to know. I want to know the deep details. I don't want to know, yeah, well, that's the stuff that's going to hurt you. Well, that's fine. The Germans, what they were originally doing was rolfing, which is something where you have 4 layers of fascia. You got to move them. And once they glue together, they glue, and you try to move, and you're hurting. Well, they push and they move and they do this and they do that, and they get them all. And you'll see in his autopsies, he can show you how these things separate out, and they're thinner than you can even imagine, but they are tough, and they protect you. So anyway, this is another issue that leads credibility to the things I'm saying. Now, let's go back to the vaccines, because the vaccines have another component to this dynamic. They are just not taken into account. So, by the way, I'm going to just show you what these layers are like. So turn your eyes away if you're adverse to autopsies, because this is gruesome, and it's but it is what it is. All right, here goes. Now, this is the one that he sent me about interstitium and the membranes that he was just doing some autopsies on. He's got a school.
Is that the money shot? Did I get to the bottom of it? That shiny bit there? Is that the deep fascia? If I took a picture now, would I be showing you the deep fascia? No. Turns out there's another layer of felt. Another sort of, right? Another
see, look at how this guy's
felty layer that would obscure the specific lines of the deep fascia. Another layer. So
now, there's a thing they call superficial fascia, which is gooey, fuzzy stuff. Then you get into the lower fascia, and then you get into the deep fascia. Look at how thin this is. But if that breaches, you are being invaded. Now, it's what it is. I mean, people didn't really realize this. He's an actual, probably one of the first ones to realize how complex these layers are. And he's only finding 3 or 4 of them. But I can tell you right now, I think there's thousands of them, to be honest with you. But very, very difficult to see. I mean, in your skin, you think you only have a couple layers of skin. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of layers of skin. You just don't realize it. These molecules are so tiny that if you took this thing right here, if you took that full of some atoms, and every one of those atoms was the size of, let's say, a grape, this would be the size of our entire world. That's how big how tiny these molecules are that we're dealing with. Because inside of that layer, there is what they call microvilli. They're tiny, tiny, tiny little pockets. And those pockets harbor these mucus-generating bacteria. And they also, the same pocket holds a colony of bacteria that harvests metals and things, and salts, whatever they do. The bacteria creates enzymes. The enzymes go out. The enzymes are a chemistry kit. They're not alive. They're a bunch of little molecules that say, I'm going to go out and break open some of this and crack it down into little tiny bitty bits, so that they can be carried around to the rest of the body. If you don't have those things, you're not going to get those things broken down. So what happens? You take antibiotics, or your body is invaded by something that, then the doctors try to protect you from that. Well, they kill everything else that's doing other jobs, and by the time you're done, your body's fighting to try to keep invaders from every niche in these little tiny spots. So you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be overwhelmed. Your body's going to be fighting everywhere. You might got 1,000 guys. You got 2,000 spots that are getting invaded. Well, you're in trouble. Then they shoot you up with some kind of vaccine to say, don't worry, everybody's healthy, we won't be bothered. And that is probably correct. My kids never had a problem. They're perfectly healthy. I never had a problem. But they never had a problem with their digestive systems. And most kids now, they got some kind of issue with their stomach. And that is because the bacteria in their stomach is wrong. So, is there a solution? Yes. Yes. There is a solution. There's a solution. The solution is we have to know what is in our bodies. We don't even know that now. There's no database to tell you should have these enzymes in these quantities, and these blood metals in these quantities, and these bacteria in these quantities. There is nothing that can do that for you. So you go to the doctor and he says, well, you don't look too good. Let me give you some of this to see what happens. I'm serious. That is really what's happening now. I'm telling you, that's what's happening. What they need to do is to say, what is in your body? How much of these metals do you have? And there's almost 100 metals. They only test for a few. So you need all those metals, because those are the transporters. Those are the things that carry the molecules around your body. That's called carboxylation. You don't have that, they're not going to they can't carry them. So, and they do specific jobs, each one of these metals and salts in your body, they carry things around using tiny, tiny, tiny little pH handheld called a ligand. It's one molecule, one electron, really. It says here, I'm a transition metal, so I can take that little electron, I can stuck it down here in this lower orbital, and then when another guy comes along and he has a little different pH, I'm going to just give it to him. And that's what happens. That's how you transport things through your body. That's how your lungs work, and it's called carbonic acids in your body. They go through your lungs, they turn into carbonic gases. You blow them out. You blow out 3,500 carbonic gases out of your lungs almost every single time you breathe. And if you don't have the right stuff in your lungs to transfer those into gases, they will not be able to exit your body, and then they will accumulate and you're going to have problems. You're a chemistry set. And I have a lot of videos on this. But you should, if you get interested in this stuff, this is really fascinating. Gil goes through it, and it just keeps going deeper and deeper. Anyway, it's a little gruesome, but I believe we're missing all kinds of things, and our legislators will not let us even speak. This is my issue. And this glyphosate, this stuff here, what it does, it's a chelation agent. They put it in on plants to take all the metals out of the plants. So they take the metals so the plant can't live, it dies. It's the same thing happens to you. You know, that's why they say this causes cancer. Well, it causes cancer, but they don't know why. The reason is it takes the metals. The metals are the things that do the transportation in your body. So you're just like a plant. You don't have that stuff, you're going to be hurting. Now, you may not die instantly because you just have little bits of it, and it's sort of invading you slowly and making you chronically tired and sick and ill, and pains and inflammation and joint issues, and crystals are growing in your body where they shouldn't. Things aren't being taken away that should be taken away. Things aren't being delivered that they're too big to be delivered. They're not being cracked into little bits and pieces. It's a dance. And it's not hard to figure out. If you can figure out what's in the body and put it in a database, and then the guy walks in and he says, well, what's the matter with me? He says, well, I don't know. Let me see a little of your blood, a little of this, a little of your feces, and blow into this bag, and we'll see what's coming out of your carbonic gases, and sit down, and I'll be out in about 10 minutes. He comes out 10 minutes. Well, here, take a little of this lactobacillus, and here, you take a little of this and a little of that, and a little bone meal, and go home and play with the kids. Instead, you be in the doctor's office sicker than hell because he gave you some antibiotics. He said, well, you must have something attacking you. Let's give you some antibiotics, kill the rest of the good stuff in you. And they won't let us talk about these things. That's my issue, because you can't talk. They will not give anything about 5G, which is an absolute nightmare coming up. Anything that has thin skin, seeds, bacteria, plants, insects, your eyeballs, anything that has water close to the surface is going to be literally destroyed. And it might not happen today or tomorrow or the next day, but over the course of time, shaking these water molecules is an absolute nightmare. This is the same thing they use to cook your food, and they're going to be cooking us. And they're taking I don't think there's any testing been done whatsoever on this. None. That I can find. None. Zero. They will not allow anybody to talk about it. They're just putting them right up on the streets. And they're going to jam them down us, and the earth will not allow this in. I have videos on this too. That will not be allowed to be heard. The vaccines, they say this is what it's going to be. It can't be heard. Well, I think there's another component to this. Let's find out why these issues are happening. Let's do some investigation, not just shut up and take what we give you. That's the thing of the past. That crap's got to stop.